Good morning and welcome back to the homestead. So we're starting inside because today is a big day. We have multiple things happening and I'm just going to take you along while we get stuff done. The first thing though is I need to make bread. And usually I would be making a sourdough bread and doing boules and all that. I kind of killed my sourdough and so forgot to feed it for a day and a half and that makes it so sour. So I restarted some sourdough, and what I mean by restarting is I took it down to the least amount of the starter, my previous starter that was really sour and gross, and put that in a crock with some new water flour mixture, and I'm starting again trying to make it so it's a little bit less sour, feeding it a lot, making it really bubbly. Sadly enough, I've done this before, and so I know that I can fix it and make it good again. I just have to get to that point. But that means that we're making yeast bread today, and this is a recipe that I have used since I was like 10, 11. So very comfortable recipe for me, and it's also kind of one of my comfort foods because, like I said, I've been using it for a long time. Let's start there. We'll get some bread made, and then I'm going to explain to you what's going on next. Okay, this is going to rise for 45 minutes. That gives me 45 minutes to get things done outside. Now, while this may seem all a bit rushed and like, oh my goodness, you're just rushing around like crazy, it's not really how it is. It's just keeping moving. I figure if I'm keeping moving and getting things done, then I am ready for the vet. That's the biggest issue right now is I want to try and time my bread rising with the vet being here so that I am not trying to make bread. Oops, sorry about this wind. It's really crazy windy today. I'm not trying to bake bread and do the vet visit because I want to give as much time as possible to the vet. All right, let's get somewhere where it's not so windy so I can actually talk to you. All right, welcome to my very messy garage where I'm keeping my hay right now because this is the type of hay I have. I usually do not get hay in a round bale like this because I'm not set up for it right now. What we need to do is completely clean this garage out and get it so that it is set up for having things like round bales because right now it's backed up against a pile of stuff and so I can't just pull off a flake. I'm having to pull it off section by section, which makes it really hard for anyone other than me to feed the goats. And if I'm having a problem inside where I need to be parenting and not doing chores, because that does happen, I need somebody else to be able to feed the goats. So I've been working with Steve to teach him how to do it, and he is just not getting it. He doesn't understand what I'm wanting him to do. I've shown him, I've done different things, and he ends up giving him 2 handfuls of hay, and you can't do that. You got to give him a full bucket of this hay every morning, every evening, because we are still not doing pasture right now because the pasture hasn't grown enough yet. Now we're getting close. I keep looking, I keep walking through the pastures going, we are so close to being able to put these goats on pasture. And I keep hoping one day it's going to happen one day. I got to retrain them to electric. Make sure they're not going to try and go through the electric fence. Probably work on that this week because the electric is already out with them in their pen and it'll be really easy to train them to an electric fence right now. big thing is making sure this feeder is really full for the day. So now let's talk about why today is really exciting to me. Like I said before, we're getting the herd tested. But the reason that we're getting them tested is because I have put a deposit down on 2 new goats. And the reason I did this is because I am ready to jump fully into dairy. I love having goats. I like milking. I like having them. Their personalities are fun. The way that I have them set up, it is not a really bothersome chore to have them on the homestead. There are some animals that it's like, oof, this is really hard. I found turkeys to be that way. They just didn't work with what we had going on. So instead of having an animal that's hard, I want to really work on having animals that we really love. And I love having the goats. I love having the goats probably just as much as our oldest Josie loves having her chickens. She is obsessed with them. And that's exactly how we want it to be. So I went ahead and I put a deposit down on 2 new goats. This test will tell me whether we are really going in the right direction. 1, because we want to make sure that we have no CAE in our herd before introducing these 2 doelings in. And 2, we also want to make sure that we have more babies coming in this year. That is really, really, really what I want. I want to have milk and cheese and butter and ice cream and all the things that you can do with milk. Because I'm wanting all those different things with milk, I went ahead and got 2 that are a different breed than my current set. So currently I have La Mancha, and I also have a La Mancha Alpine mix. Her personality is great, but I would have rather had a full La Mancha. I was not understanding that she was in a La Mancha Alpine mix when I got her. She's a good doe. She's a sweetheart. She's very friendly. So that side of it's good. But the thing with the Nubians is that they have really good cheese milk. And so while the La Manchas are a really sweet temperament, and I love a La Mancha goat for temperament, their milk just isn't as creamy as some of the other breeds. And so the idea is we'll have the Nubians and the La Manchas, which will then allow us to breed with a dwarf Nigerian to create a high butterfat content with a good milk. One that's specifically for cheese and one that I have specifically for drinking. So the last thing that I have to do to get ready for the vet this morning was just make sure the goats are all topped up on their stuff, which is the usual morning thing, and get the area that she's going to be in cleaned out. I did that, and so now we just wait for the vet to show up. While we're waiting for the vet to show up, I'm going to get the kids' school done. We're still wrapping up school. There's not a ton left. It's just the last little bits of things. We started school last May, June, and we wrapped up a lot of stuff back in February. So now that we're into April, the kids have language arts and some handwriting and things like that they're wrapping up. But beyond that, we're pretty much done. So we'll get school taken care of for today. We're going to get the house cleaned up and the bread baked so that we are completely ready for the vet when she shows up. Well, the vet visit timing worked out perfectly. The bread was rising, all of it, but it was a really disappointing visit. So, learned a couple things. First is that the does are not pregnant. I guess they just weren't cycling enough. Yeah, I'm kind of bummed about that. Talked to the vet. She said it wasn't the buck's fault. Or it shouldn't be. Like, there's no reason why it shouldn't. So I went ahead and had her ultrasound because I wanted to know about when we would have babies. Obviously, we're not. So, but she did say that Confetti, our brown doe, is still giving a really incredible amount of milk for being over a year lactation. She said it's not something that she sees all the time. So I'm thankful to her for what she said. She's actually a really awesome vet who does goats herself. So she's able to talk to me a little bit about some different things. Yeah, I'm disappointed. I want does in milk. so I can have milk. And yeah, looks like we're not getting that this year. We can breed as soon as she's cycling again, which should be in about September. And we can have babies in January if we want. But I don't really want babies in January, so just, anyway, yeah. I'm disappointed. Trying to get it all figured out, but I've gotten the bread ready to bake, and it'll be about 20 more minutes. We'll get that in the oven, and we'll have some fresh, yummy bread for lunch. So that's a positive out of today. But yeah, like I said, a little disappointed. We're going to wait on the blood tests to see what's going on. After talking with her and her giving me some of the knowledge, I'm kind of feeling a little down about the blood tests too. Not sure that they're going to be what I want. So we always hope to come back negative, but if we come back positive, that's a deal. And she's not convinced that we're going to come back negative because of where the goats came from. So yeah. All right. Well, I'll catch up with you guys when we're getting to work out in the orchard, and I can show you what we're doing out there. Hey, so I said I was going to catch up with you guys in the orchard because we were planning on working out here this afternoon. And you'll hear it in a minute why we're not. It's windy, but it is gorgeous. So I just thought I'd show you what we did. So last week, I came out here and I was like, woman power. I'm going to do this. I'm going to just knock out like 5 to 10 trees a day, and we're going to get the whole orchard trimmed. So when you're trimming, you want to get rid of the water shoots. Those are the ones that are sticking straight up. I got 3 trees in, and my arms were hurting so bad. I thought I need to work out and get stronger before I do this. And I realized I would rather pick up the sticks than trim the orchard. So we talked with a guy who was willing to work with us, and someone that we use that's local. And we actually paid him to bring in a crew and trim the trees like we did last year. Only this year there's a lot less. So our next project is actually to play pickup stick. And I was going to do that this afternoon. I told the kids that each were going to owe me an hour of picking up sticks. There's not a lot, but what we'll do is we'll just get a wagon and we'll just take it down a row, go dump the sticks in the pile, come back down another row, dump the sticks in the pile, and it won't take us long. But with it so windy, every time that you go to pick up a stick, everything flies up in your face and your kids getting stuff in their eyes, and it's a mess. But I'm really happy with how the trees look. As you can see here, we've got some good buds going, and I'm hopeful that this will be an amazing year for our apple cider. There's not a ton that we had to take off this year, and actually you're able to hear me pretty well. I wasn't sure you would be able to because of the wind, but I think it's actually going to be okay. There's a pretty good wind barrier behind me, so I think you'll be able to hear me. We had to trim so much last year that this year the trim looks like nothing compared to last year, and I'm very excited just to see a minimal amount of sticks in each row. This is where we pasture our pigs, and what we do is we set up line using posts and wire, and I'm going to explain all of that in probably next week's video. But last year, to give you an idea, that was the amount coming out, and it's just so much less in comparison this year. Last year you couldn't even see through the orchard because of how many sticks and pieces were coming off. We did a massive chop, and this year it actually, like I said, I'm actually really excited about it. They're looking really good. Like I said, we were planning on working over here today, but I don't think we're going to, so I'm gonna wrap up this video here. And thank you for coming along this morning as I talked to you about what was going on with the goats and the vet. I'm incredibly disappointed in what we learned today on one hand, and on the other hand, I'm kind of glad that the goats aren't pregnant. Well, I'm still getting milk from Confetti, and we are still able to have that, and it should be nothing to do with any of my goats. It was a timing thing. And then if they are sick and they do have disease, which is possible because of where they came from, we can go ahead and get that eradicated and not be dealing with it in our herd, because that's not something we want, as I've said in previous videos. So anyway, I look forward to seeing you guys next week. Bye.